This is Ty Metalhead Weatherman. Hopefully, you guys are doing all right on this Tuesday afternoon. It's been a hot one for a lot of us, but we are just about to a peak heating of the day in the eastern half of the country. Do have some interesting weather that is expected to unfold in the western half of the country today. Should be firing right about now, actually. Main threat area, as mentioned on here on the SBC page, is from northeast Kansas to southeast Iowa within the next 5 hours. So far, we have no watches, and currently there are actually a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings in central Kansas. We do expect some activity to pick up. We do expect this activity to be on the increase as time goes on. In fact, I can kind of see the storm cells right here. We're going to go into that, and we're also going to go over tomorrow's threat, which has been upgraded to a slight risk, and we will go forward from there. Also, if you guys like what I've been doing, drop this video a like, check out other videos on the channel, subscribe, a whole 9 yards. Just feel free to give the channel a good look through, and also just help me get the algorithm up so I can spread the word and get this out there to the people that need it. That being said, we'll look at all the threats here. Tornado threat is minimal. Still can't rule it. Still never going to rule it out whenever it's less than 2% in all the areas, but I wouldn't be expecting it. But the wind threat is definitely the main story today. Expecting a line of storms to form, especially once we get to the east of Garden City, and this line of storms is going to quickly push through this region right here towards the Missouri Valley and into maybe as far east as Illinois and parts of Wisconsin. There could be a line of storms that pushes as far north as potentially even Marquette, Wisconsin, but chances are pretty low. We'll have to watch it regardless. Hail threat is relatively minimal with this. So with that, we'll go to day 2. Day 2, our threat has shifted further to the east. We have the Ohio Valley involved. We have a lot of Kentucky with a marginal risk of storms. We have a small little area in the Midwest as well that has a marginal threat, mainly towards southern Kansas and northern Oklahoma towards the Panhandle. Threat here is minimal though, so I'm mostly thinking it's going to be a damaging wind and hail threat. Excuse me. It's going to be a damaging wind and hail threat. Now, around the northeast, this is where things get a little bit more interesting. Once we get past this marginal risk into the slight risk region, which is including areas like Binghamton, Scranton, and it has parts of the Delmarva, DC, and Baltimore. You are in this as well. We have Pittsburgh in play too. Then we have eastern and southern parts of Ohio, as well as a good chunk of northern Virginia and almost half of West Virginia involved. We look at the threat, and we have a pretty considerable wind threat. No surprises there. The hail threat is where things are a little bit more minimal, but we do have a 2% tornado threat, so a little bit of everything is on the table here. It's a relatively small area compared to the other hazards, but we'll have to watch this because we've been seeing a lot of uptrends from the National Weather Service over the last few weeks. We'll look at the parameters to make sure that we have an idea of what could happen tomorrow and how they may react. But as of right now, I don't expect this to go up to a 2% area. This area to go above 2%. And for good measure, we'll even take a look at day 3, because more than likely one of these areas may go up to a slight risk. This has been kind of irritating because I've been thinking this all should be calming down pretty soon, but patterns just saying otherwise. So our first marginal risk area, it's all in Montana. We have Great Falls and Glasgow in play for that. These areas are a little less densely populated, so I'm not as worried about these areas, but if the threat picks up, we'll watch this more closely. Then population kind of picks up when we move further to the east, when we have Minnesota and both the Dakotas involved in this threat. We have Aberdeen, South Dakota, Fargo, Grand Forks in play for some severe weather. Hazard type as of right now is unknown. We'll try and look a little further into that today. And then here is our third area right here. This is a little bit more rural, but we do have Lincoln, Nebraska involved in this, as well as McCook. And then towards northern and central Kansas, we have Colby, and just to the south, just to the north of Garden City, we have a Marshall Risk as well. We'll see how this potentially trends over the next couple of days. It could very well go up to a slight risk. These could all connect together. It's your guess is as good as mine right now, honestly. We'll get a little bit more answers in just a second here. So we're going to take a look at what the radar will look like over the next few days. Try and get an idea of where storms will be firing and where the greatest, and what they may potentially look like over our areas of interest. While we move this along, NAM hasn't really picked up. Okay, actually it has a little bit further south, but we do have a nice little bit of a development here towards Kansas particularly, but audiograph isn't showing a whole lot. There is a fair amount of instability here from the looks of it. It's not really being shown on here though, which is kind of odd. It's kind of irritating. But it looks like we're definitely getting some scattered severe weather as we get towards the late night hours, I would say. These storms are going to die out pretty quick from the looks of it. Then towards Wednesday morning, you see a little bit of rain. A small, very weak MCS pops up around the mid-Atlantic to a northeast region. It quickly moves out. And once we get into the afternoon hours, right about, I would say, 5-6 o'clock, that's when this next group of storms is going to fire. And this is actually going to take a trip. This is actually going to be pushing its way south. So we'll have to watch and see where this goes from here. And then this MCS tries to form up into a tropical system. I've been seeing a few trends on this lately. Haven't really known what to make of it, but this does look like it tries to organize itself. We had the GFS kind of looking at this run for a bit, but now the short range models are picking up on it, so there is an increase in confidence. Whether this makes it to tropical depression or tropical storm status is unknown, but a lot of the thinking is if this storm does form, this will most likely be heading towards the Nova Scotia region, the lower 48. Shouldn't have too many impacts, maybe some extra rain from Maine, but beyond that, I don't think there's going to be anything too magnanimous from this. I'm trying to take a look at Thursday's threat. It's maybe an overnight threat. It's kind of hard to say. The models aren't giving me a lot to work with here. I think this is going to be kind of a bleed over what happens on Wednesday night as far as storm development is concerned. Because once we get to about the midnight hour, I do see some storms trying to pop up in Kansas. It's going to be relatively isolated in nature, very localized, but you still could get some pulse severe weather out of this as well. It's not a very robust system. And this is what I can't stand about these summertime setups, is the fact that these are a little bit harder to track because there's a little bit more complexities with this. During the springtime, the setups seem to be more clear cut. You can kind of just know what's going on versus these summertime setups where these very weak high pressure, borderline low pressure systems are rolling through and they're firing off storms, versus low pressures like these, which we know are very strong and are definitely able to produce unsettled weather. It's a 50-50 chance on whether you get something like this to pop off anything. Really, it's not supposed to. So when you see this on the map, it gets confusing. Anyway, we're going to go to the low-level jet here. Just try to get an idea of any sort of tornado threat we may have tomorrow. That's my main concern at this point now. Damaging wind threat is the main threat for both days, and I wouldn't expect Thursday to be any different. And there may be a secondary area that pops up in the southeast, but right now the NAM is not picked up on any of this. Yeah, low level jet's not very impressive at all, honestly. But over towards late Wednesday night, I would say maybe the low level jet picks up around West Virginia and the Virginia, the states of Virginia and West Virginia. Maybe there might be some very strong damaging winds. Maybe a quick spin up. Nothing very concrete that I'm seeing here. And then lo and behold, here comes our MCS going offshore, and then trying to form into a tropical system from the looks of it. You probably get a little. I might make a video on the tropics tonight and post it later. But as of right now, this is all I got for you on this video. You're in an area of concern for severe weather in the next couple of days. Just be on guard. The threat isn't super high, but just don't get caught off guard. Don't be caught up in a damaging storm with no shelter to go to or anything like that. But all of you, stay safe, stay cool for sure, and I will see you guys later. This has been Tyre Metalhead Weatherman. You guys have a good rest of the day.